we have to exercise extreme caution. These flashes may well be interceptions. Interceptions of these projectiles. 1, 2, possibly 3 of them may or may not have hit their targets. May or may not have hit their targets in Tel Aviv. For an hour now, I beg your pardon, for a year now, we have been asking whether or not this could tilt into something even bigger than it has been. In other words, a direct, full-blown war.
Iran strikes Israel with scores of missiles in retribution for the leaders of Hamas and Hezbollah being killed. Jerusalem, AP. The battle between Israel and the Iranian-backed militias, Hamas and Hezbollah, has been escalating sharply over the past several months. Iran claimed to have fired dozens of missiles into Israel on Tuesday. Air raid sirens rang across the nation, and Israel ordered citizens to evacuate to bomb shelters. There were no immediate reports of injuries. There were many explosions that shook windows in Tel Aviv and the surrounding area of Jerusalem, but it was not immediately apparent if the noises were caused by missiles hitting the ground, being intercepted by Israeli defenses, or both. Iran, which supports the terrorist organization Hezbollah in Lebanon, has threatened to strike Israel, and both Israel and the US have warned that there would be dire repercussions. From the Situation Room in the White House, President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris observed the strike on Israel. Rear ADM.
Get these lower thirds updated here for you, but again, we can now tell you that the IDF is reporting missiles have been launched from Iran toward Israel. And let me show you this update that we are getting. IDF just putting this out. All Israeli civilians are in bomb shelters as rockets from Iran are fired at Israel. Breaking news, bringing to you here on Live Now from Fox.
Daniel Hagari, a spokesman for the Israeli army, stated that the nation's air defense system was fully functional and capable of identifying and stopping threats. He clarified, the defense is not hermetic, though Israelis received orders to stay indoors and saw them broadcast on national television. The scores of ballistic missiles fired against Israel were claimed by Iran. On state television, a statement that was read out made the accusation. Iran cited Revolutionary Guard General Abbas Nilfourushan and Hezbollah commander Hassan Nasrallah, who were both slain in an Israeli airstrike in Beirut last week, in their statement. It also named Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh, who was killed in July in Tehran in what was believed to be an Israeli strike. Without going into detail, it issued a warning that this attack was simply the first wave, a day after Israel said it had started limited combat operations against Hezbollah in southern Lebanon. The country received alerts about an impending air raid, following a barrage of rockets fired into Israel by Hezbollah fighters. Southern Lebanese villages were hit by Israeli artillery fire and airstrikes, forcing the local population to flee. As the fighting worsened and fears of a larger regional conflict increased, there was no immediate word on casualties. Senior White House officials threatened Israel with severe consequences if Iran launched a ballistic missile. American aircraft and ships are stationed in the area to support Israel in the event of an Iranian attack. The official discussed intelligence while speaking under anonymity. Hagari issued a dire warning in the event that Iran launched missiles into Israel. He advised people to avoid going too far from sheltered places. He stated, the Iranian strike might be widespread. Remarks from Iranian officials could not be obtained in a timely manner. In April, Iran launched an unprecedented direct strike against Israel. However, the majority of its missiles missed their targets. A coalition led by the United States shot down many of them, and it appears that some failed to launch or fell in midair. The Israeli army declared that it had conducted numerous ground raids into southern Lebanon dating back over a year, despite Hezbollah's denials that Israeli forces had invaded the country. Video footage purportedly showing Israeli forces operating in Hezbollah-owned residences and tunnels was made public by Israel. If confirmed, it would deal the most potent armed organization in the Middle East, Hezbollah, which is supported by Iran, yet another crushing blow. Weeks of targeted strikes that killed Hassan Nasrallah, the head of Hezbollah, and several of his top commanders have left the organization reeling. Israel issued an evacuation order to the north of the Awali River on Tuesday morning. This is approximately 60 kilometers, 36 miles, from the border and a much larger area than the Litani River, which delineates the northern boundary of a zone that the United Nations declared to be a buffer between Israel and Hezbollah following their 2006 war. Over the past year, as the two sides have exchanged gunfire, the border area has essentially cleared away. However, the extent of the evacuation alert prompted concerns about the depth of Israel's planned troop deployment into Lebanon. Tuesday's Israeli airstrike damaged a residential structure close to Beirut, but there were no early reports of injuries. About 100 meters away from the Iranian embassy, the residents seemed to be struck by the strike. The Israeli army blocked beaches in northern and central Israel and issued new restrictions on public gatherings in anticipation of further missile assaults from Hezbollah. Additionally, the military announced that hundreds more reserve soldiers will be called up to serve on the northern border. Concerns were expressed on whether Israeli soldiers entered, although an Associated Press reporter observed Israeli troops using armored trucks close to the border and helicopters flying overhead.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Kira Phillips. We are coming on the air because ABC News has now confirmed Iran has just launched a retaliatory missile attack targeting Israel. A U.S. senior administration official telling ABC News now that Iran is expected to fire 240 to 250 missiles at 4 targets in Israel. This includes the Mossad headquarters, Israel's spy agency, 3 Israeli air bases. We are told it'll take about 15 minutes to actually reach their targets. The U.S. and Israeli military with their defenses at the ready at this moment, including Israel's Iron Dome. Israel has ordered residents now in Jerusalem to shelter in place. The White House had signaled a potential strike was imminent. The attack follows a rapid escalation of violence in the Middle East, something we've been covering for weeks now, including an Israeli airstrike killing Hezbollah's leader in Beirut. Iran launching a direct attack on Israel in April, but few of its missiles and rockets actually reached their intended targets. Many were shot down by the U.S. coalitions in the region. This comes as the Israeli military now says its troops were conducting limited ground raids in southern Lebanon. Let's get straight to our Ian panel in Beirut. Ian, what can you tell us at this moment?
Yeah, hi there, Kira. I mean, this is clearly underway. There have been a lot of fears that this was coming, especially after the assassination of Hassan Nasrallah, the leader of Hezbollah for almost 3 decades. The live pictures that we're now seeing, certainly over the skies in Tel Aviv, show a lot of lights in the air. Now, what's unclear is whether these are ballistic missiles. We believe Iran has fired over 100 ballistic missiles. We certainly know that the Iron Dome and other air defenses are in operation, and this is happening right as we speak.
They were unable to verify whether ground forces had entered Lebanon. U.S. sources indicated on Monday that Israel had mentioned conducting small-scale ground raids inside Lebanon in order to get ready for a larger operation, prior to the country's announcement of an incursion. The entry of Israeli forces has not been acknowledged by the Lebanese army or a UN peacekeeping team that monitors southern Lebanon. A cross-border operation, according to the UN force, would violate Lebanese sovereignty. Mohammed Afif, a spokesman for Hezbollah, denied the false claims of an Israeli incursion. Direct confrontation with enemy forces that dare to or try to enter Lebanon, he declared, is something that Hezbollah is prepared for. Hagri asserted that in order to guarantee Israeli civilians' ability to return to their homes in the north, troops were carrying out localized ground raids on Hezbollah sites in southern Lebanon. He declared, "We're not going to Beirut." Israel has declared that until it is safe for its citizens to return, it will keep hitting Hezbollah. Hezbollah has vowed to continue launching missiles into Israel until the Gaza Strip is under a state of truce. He claimed that since October 8, when Hezbollah started launching missiles into Israel following the start of the Gaza war, Israel had conducted dozens of minor incursions inside Lebanon. According to Hagari, Israeli commandos had crossed the border in order to gather intelligence and demolish weaponry and tunnels used by Hezbollah. Hezbollah was allegedly planning its own Oct. 7-style strike on Israel. According to Israel, it was not able to verify their statements right away. According to an Israeli military official, the troops involved in the most recent incursion were concentrating on towns located hundreds of meters, yards, away from Israel, and were within walking reach of the border. According to military standards, the official talked under pseudonymity, but stated that there had been no conflicts with Hezbollah fighters. Hezbollah launches rockets, and Israel continues to hit targets. According to the Israeli military official, Hezbollah fired missiles at central Israel, injuring a man and triggering air raid sirens. Hezbollah claimed to have opened fire on the headquarters of 2 Israeli intelligence agencies close to Tel Aviv with salvos of a brand new type of medium-range missile. The Israeli military officer said Hezbollah had also shot rockets at Israeli communities along the border, targeting soldiers without harming anyone. Shortly after Hamas launched their attack on Israel on October 7, which started the Gaza war, Hezbollah started shooting rockets into northern Israel. The crisis has been getting worse ever since Israel started to fire retaliatory airstrikes. Israel has been hitting vast swaths of Lebanon with airstrikes in recent weeks.